What's up guys, and welcome to my quick start combo guide for a longsword in Monster Hunter Wilds. Our weeb stick is back and might be better than ever. If you played Monster Hunter World Iceborne, longsword will feel right at home, as most things like Spirit EI Slash and Foresight Slash and Helmbreaker have transferred, aside a few new additions. Unfortunately, there is no training area in the beta unless you restart your save, which I'm not going to do, but I'll try my best to explain it via the PlayStation controls, so let's begin. For anyone new to Monster Hunter, longsword is basically the most popular melee weapon due to its relatively fast attacks, long reach, simple combo string, and well, it's anime. The goal is simple: get to red gauge. Each gauge increases the power of your attacks with 3 stages in total of white, yellow, and red gauge sequentially. And in Wilds, red gives you additional attacks, so being in red longer has more advantages than just pump and dumping Helmbreaker, your ultimate finisher move. So basically, they changed longsword to where red gauge is actually viable for normal play, unlike World. But yeah, otherwise we dump in Helmbreaker. To increase your gauge, we now have 4 methods of doing so. The first is doing the Spirit Blade combo after building up to 75% or more meter from using normal attacks like triangle and circle. Get to 75% and then just spam R2, and if the final round slash hits the monster, your gauge increases. However, in Wilds, based off the beta, simply hitting an overhead strike into a fade slash via triangle plus circle at the same time gives you enough meter to then use your Spirit Blade combo via spamming R2 to upgrade your gauge. Second method is the Foresight Slash via R2 plus circle after doing any attack prior, usually circle being preferred. If you use Foresight during a monster's attack or roar, the right timing, you will iframe the attack, a blue shing sound and visual will trigger, and you can then follow up with an R2 to do a Spirit Round Slash to increase your gauge easily. So this is a super quick way to gain gauge, but you have to have a little bit of meter to trigger the iframes, and if you mistime it, it'll consume all your meter, but make sure to have some meter before using it. But like Fade Slash, you can change the direction of this via the left thumbstick during the move. The third method is the EI Spirit Slash. Like the previous attacks, you need to do a normal attack in order to get to the stance called EI Stance via R2 plus X. Something like triangle, and then you hit R2 plus X. This will sheathe your blade and hold it for a bit. If you press triangle after that, you will do a 2-hit attack that, if landed, will give you a meter over time effect, slowly regenerating your meter, which is great for Foresight Slash. But if you instead hit R2 during the monster's attack while in the stance, you will not only iframe, but you're going to do an attack that increases your gauge, so both evading and doing damage at the same time. And you don't need to worry about meter to pull it off. However, the animation to sheathe is kind of slow without certain skills, so be mindful of when to use it. But you can combo this with Foresight Slash to counter one attack, then go into EI to counter the second attack to gain 2 gauges easily, quickly. But this time in Wilds, we gained a 4th method. If you hit R2 and then hold it, you're going to do this kind of stance that will charge your blade, and if you hold it long enough, it will fully charge, and if you hit the monster afterward, you'll do a Spirit Round Slash that upgrades your gauge instantly, even without meter. This means even if the monster is not attacking to counter, we now have a way to increase our gauge without spamming normal attacks. And you can release R2 mid-animation instead of charging to do extra attacks, and if you hold it again and release a second time, it'll put you into that final stance for a guaranteed gauge increase if you land. Again, have to land. But really cool, and definitely something you want to learn and incorporate into your gameplay, especially during multiplayer where the monsters are not always attacking you. The next major change is the Spirit Helm Breaker. You can do this at any gauge level, but you always just want to do it in red, since in red, you get a new follow-up. But hitting R2 plus triangle will do a jab, which if landed will send you into the air, and then hitting R2 again at the point of contact with the monster will do the Helm Breaker. It does a lot of damage, but afterwards your gauge will be lowered by 1 level. But if you're in red gauge and do this, if you hit R2 again after that, you're going to do some crazy Virgil anime slashes for even more damage, at the cost of lowering your gauges by 2 instead. But this thing hits super far and is a pretty big area, so you're rarely going to miss it. And on top of the absurd damage, if most of those slashes at the end land, it will build your meter up, so you can go right into Spirit Blade R2 spam to get back to yellow quickly, and from there all it takes is one Foresight Slash or EI Spirit Slash to put you back in red to repeat the process. So get to red, dump the Helmbreaker, repeat the process. Pretty easy. And the last new major change is the red gauge. When in red gauge, all your triangle attacks and even the foresight slash will change. Your basic triangle attacks will now do additional hits and you have additional movement. So it's nice that we finally have some good attacks to use instead of Helmbreaker if it's too dangerous to use Helmbreaker. Additionally, after a spirit round slash to red gauge or during red gauge, you can press R2 again to do a cool extra slash attack. I gotta stress, these aren't just extra attacks. They allow you to position better for your Helmbreaker or to dodge out of the way. And as said, your foresight slash now is also an attack in addition to the iframe. The longsword can really upkeep damage a lot now, much better than before. And of course, with wilds, every weapon gets a focus strike, and the longsword does this sequence, which gains you gauges depending on the number of wounds hit. So theoretically, you can go from no gauge to red if you hit 3 wounds in a row. Certainly at least 2 gauge increases is possible by hitting 2 wounds. In other words, don't use focus strike if you're at red gauge, only use it on the lower gauges to get to red. And yeah, that pretty much covers the new mechanics for longsword. Now here are some combos you can do.
Combo 1.
When you first start out a fight against a monster that doesn't roar, you should do triangle and then fade slash, which is triangle plus circle, into your spirit blade combo via spamming R2, and boom, you got your first gauge, usually within the time before the monster starts attacking. For monsters with the roar, you can preemptively hold R2 to do your round slash to increase your gauge, and then hit circle or triangle to prepare a foresight slash or into a EI spirit slash to then counter the roar, and then you hit R2 again to get 2 gauges easily. Otherwise, just hit them a couple times and then go into your spirit EI slash to counter the roar and get at least 1 gauge. But those are going to be your openers usually, and from there on you're going to use foresight slash, EI spirit slash, and holding R2 for the super round slash all the way up to red during the battle. And on the hit that does make you red, make sure to hit R2 again for the extra attack.
Combo 2.
Once you are ready to use Helmbreaker at red gauge, do R2 plus triangle, then do the second follow-up via R2 again, and then you have 2 choices. If most hits land, you can spam R2 right afterward with spirit slashes till you do a round slash and get back to yellow. Or you can simply hold R2 to do the round slash to increase your gauge, and that still retains your meter. Otherwise, if the monster starts attacking, just do your normal counters and go back up to red. But if you think you are going to miss the Helmbreaker, make sure to press X while you're in the air to cancel the Helmbreaker and save your gauge. Otherwise, you will fall and waste your gauge, so don't do that.
Combo 3.
As for the red gauge normal attacks, it's going to be case by case, but essentially your game plan is to use them till you have an opportune moment to use Helmbreaker, weaving in foresight slashes to dodge as you go. In most cases, going back to EI is going to be pointless, so just use foresight slash for your counter needs while in red. And I guess I will point out the mount attack. When you mount a monster via jumping on it from terrain, you can open wounds on the back of the monster by pressing circle or triangle. But once you do find a red mark, press R1 to do your finisher attack, breaking the wound and doing the most weeb move they've ever made. Congrats, Capcom.
Forgot to mention that focus mode is broken. Holding L2 is gonna let you change your direction and attacks vastly. Example, the spirit slash combo of spamming R2. Normally, your turning range is limited. However, if you hold L2 while turning, you can pretty much attack in any direction. Get used to this mechanic as most speedrunners are abusing it for many weapons.
But yeah, that should cover the longsword in Wilds. As far as adapting to the new changes, it was fairly easy. The only thing you have to master again are going to be the timings from the new monster to counter and get your gauge right. But yeah, so far, a lot of fun with a bit more choices than there was in Iceborne. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and let me know your thoughts on Wilds and Longsword from the beta. Do you like the changes over Rise and World? But yeah, that's it for me. Make sure to join the streams if you want to do multiplayer hunts and stuff like that. And if you want to see more guides like this, make sure to subscribe for more Wilds epicness.